Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Todd Sarner to the show, and we're going to be talking about parenting and much, much more, I'm sure, today. So, a quick introduction to Todd. So, Todd MFT is a psychotherapist, parenting coach, and founder of Transformative Parenting. For over 2 decades, he's helped thousands of high-achieving parents move from overwhelm and reactivity to calm, confident leadership at home. His upcoming book, The Calm and Connected Parent, blends neuroscience, attachment theory, and real-world wisdom to help families thrive in the age of screens and AI. So, welcome to the show today, Todd. Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I gave you a whole bunch of mouthfuls of things to say, like that subtitle of the book and transformative parenting. Some of the things are too long,
No, I love it.
but
It's a great
yeah,
intro. It's a great
yeah. It's a long email address to have to type all day. So
I love it. So yeah, Todd, I'd love to know first of all. Obviously, there's this mission behind helping parents. It seems, and you're a parenting coach. Yeah, like where did this transformative parenting come from your own life and the interest behind this?
you know, I always wonder like what parts of my story to share about that. As a teenager myself, my parents had kind of a messy divorce. And it led to my brother and sister and I all had to go see a counselor to make sure we were okay. And I loved it. I thought it was amazing to go and see this psychologist. Marty was his name. And I just really thought it was such a helpful thing for me at that time because my parents weren't really around as much. They were too busy quarreling with each other. And I think that was the seed, that got planted is I want to do that. I want to help kids. I want to help teens. I want to help people who like maybe they just need someone to listen to them and show interest in what they're going through. And it just evolved over time. I went through graduate school, got a master's in counseling psychology, thinking the whole time that I was just going to work with kids and that I just wanted to be somebody who was like an ally for kids and helped them out. And around 30 years old, around the time that I was graduating or had graduated, and I was a intern, and I became a father myself. And between becoming a father myself and the mentorship I had with a guy named Dr. Gordon Neufeld. He's a Canadian who wrote a book called Hold On to Your Kids. He kind of took me under his wing when my son was about a year old, and he had this very strong philosophy of parents needing to be the answer for their kids and encouraging parents to have the confidence and of knowing that they were the number one answer for their kids. And so between becoming a dad myself and being influenced by that philosophy, I kind of changed and I went, I don't actually think I want to work with kids. I want to help the parents because if it's your kid, you should be their hero. You should be their guide. And maybe I'm just in the background helping you to figure it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So I kind of
absolutely.
went two different ways with it. The one way I went was doing parent coaching, which I've been doing for 22, 23 years, where I kind of work with parents for a few months. And it's like a combination of, it's a process really, like any process that you learn to become good at something. It's a process of education and coaching and problem solving that I just found about 3 months is what I need to do that process with people, get them into that strong, confident leadership position with their kids. And often it helps them out with each other too. But then the other thing I do is marriage counseling, and I only see couples who have kids. And so that's more therapy, and it's to help kids by helping their parents to get along better and maybe get over their negative patterns and cycles of interaction with each other that invariably inevitably seem to come up. When we get together with somebody, it's all wonderful at first, but then it tends to bring up a lot of our stuff that we don't know how to do yet, and
Mm,
that maybe negative patterns we have. And so that's the two different realms. It's really to help the kids, but to help the parents too.
I love that. Okay, so yeah, like two different, but only the marriage is only if they've got kids. It's not if they've not
Yeah,
got kids. Okay.
there's been a couple exceptions along the way, including people going, "Well, we're trying to have kids," and I go, "Okay." So I'm kind of helping your kids too because you're going to have kids, and hey, we're getting way out ahead of it. But yeah, in general, I only see people if they're parents, and that's just it's my mission. There's a quote by Marianne Williamson, the American poet and author and I guess politician in later days. And I didn't know the quote when I came up with the name of the practice, unless I heard it and I just forgot one of those things. But she said something along the lines of, "There's no, there's no action we can do more transformative in its nature than to transform the way we parent our children." It's something like that. I'm not getting it right today. But I really like that idea that changing the way we parent kids and learning to be the parents that our kids need us to be is a pathway for personal transformation and of transforming the world. And I really believe that.
It's interesting. Talking of parenting our kids and that Marianne Williamson one. Do you get into any like reparenting work for the parents themselves? I'm just curious.
I've done reparenting workshops myself personally and been part of facilitating them in the past. Not directly necessarily, but I kind of feel like that's just part of the process. My mentor, Dr. Neufeld, that I mentioned, he said that if if you learn to be who your child needs you to be, who your children need you to be, you learn how to have that confident alpha leadership kind of position in the right way with your kids, you can't help but grow yourself up in the process. And so if you want to call that reparenting and having a guide or a therapist along to help you with that, if you want to call it reparenting, does that make sense, Johnny?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what
It
you're saying is like kind of it's encouraging them to get to who they want, who they're meant to be as themselves, and that may be
yeah,
part of it.
that parenting is really more about who you are to your child, what the nature of the relationship is. And if you know what that's supposed to be, what to do kind of follows from that, you know? So if like for instance, like if I thought I had to be my child's best friend, right? If that was it, like I want to love my child, I want to respect my child, I want to treat them kindly and with empathy. That's not the question. But is our relationship that we're friends? If our relationship is that we're friends, I'm not who you need me to be. The child needs me to be a leader. My child needs me to not do what makes them happy every time, but what takes care of them. You get the difference, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's usually going to make them happy over time. If I'm kind and I'm empathetic, but I also say no when I need to say no, when I also teach them the skills and capacities they need to thrive in life and to be a functional human being, you know, um, they need me to do that. That's not always something that they're going to like when I tell them, hey, you have to do your homework or you have to eat your dinner or you can't have a cookie for dinner. They're not always going to like that, but my job is not to be your friend. My job is to take care of you, you know? And so and likewise, if I thought my job was to like teach you a lesson and you have to learn that life is, and I'm a dictator and I'm just going to tell you what to do, that's also not going to be conducive to a productive relationship. It's just going to make the person feel not cared for and that you don't get them. And they might learn some things along the way, but it needs to be this kind of, I always say like a mama bear attitude or a papa bear attitude. It's like, I'm here to take care of you and I'm large and in charge and let's go. or like a mother goose who just goes and the goslings follow. That's more the energy of, I think, what a parent needs to be for their kids.
And yeah, not being told what to do like all the time, like a dictator, like you said, potentially, because
No.
that could just, I guess, my interpretation of that is might be waiting on instructions your whole life from someone else.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things for sure. But it's it's also leader versus dictator, right? A dictator can make you do something because you're afraid you're going to get hurt or jailed, but a good leader inspires you to do something. And the science behind all of the work I do is attachment science, invented by your countryman, John Bowlby, the
Oh yeah, I'm
psychiatrist.
glad you're touching on this. I was going to ask you
Yeah,
about this.
he's for those of you watching a video, he's there on my wall behind me. There's some of my psychology
Oh,
heroes back here. There's a couple Brits back there, but yeah, John Bowlby, the inventor of attachment theory, that's the lens that I look at everything through, whether it's the couples work or the parenting work. And Johnny, you and I are best friends, and we've known each other for a while. And I care about you, and I care, we care about each other. Do I have to tell you what to do? Like if I call you up and I say, "Hey, man, I really need some help. I don't know who else to turn to." Do I need to negotiate that with you, or are you just going to come and help me if you can?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
When people are attached, you don't have to force them to do things. You might have to say no here and there. Hey, that's going too far, Johnny, or hey, that's not okay. But in general, if I want you to listen to me, I don't have to force you. If we're attached and if we have a good bond between us and I'm honoring that, you want to listen to me, you know? And
yeah.
that's where a leader comes from. Think of any good politician in America. People point to like Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, right? Bill Clinton, for all of his issues, and he had some issues, every single person who was in a room with him felt listened to and felt empathized with, and he just had that power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and that's natural leadership. Again, that doesn't mean you do good things with it all the time. He had some personal, things that he didn't have discipline about. But Barack Obama, the same way. If people are in the room with him, they kind of like believe that he cares and that he's listening to them. That's leadership versus other politicians I might mention that, are more about force. That's not true leadership. And that's what I encourage parents to pursue is like being a leader with their kid.
I love that. What about someone perhaps who so like feels a bit lost as a parent right now? And it could apply to sort of any situation as well if they aren't a parent, but they feel very lost in like who they are and really lacking that leadership. How can they kind of move forward from that?
Oh, that's tough, right? And highly personal, like depends on the situation. But I'll speak to my experience of working with a few thousand, parents. There's a kanji in Japan. I lived in Japan for a little bit, like 7 months. I lived in Osaka and I studied the language. And I've heard people quote in development books and things about, like I've heard CEOs talk about there's a kanji, a symbol in Japanese that is for crisis, and that the kanji for crisis has two other kanjis within it. And one of them is danger and one of them's opportunity, right? And so the idea is, yeah, this is a crisis and there's danger here, but there's also opportunity for growth, for transformation, for some kind of success that you can pull out of it. Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah.
And I often think of the hero's journey, you know. Uh, uh, I can't think of the guy's name right, Joseph Campbell. And all these classic stories we love, like Tolkien and Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. that there's a person who doesn't think they can do it and they come up against it, and maybe they have a guide, and a guide can be a good podcast, it could be a good therapist, it could be a parenting coach, it could be a preacher, it could be lots of people in your life, a boss who's a good guide. But the guide isn't the hero. The guide is there to tell you you can do it and that you have it in you. And you go through challenges, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes you want to leave and you want to quit. But if you persist and you keep kind of showing up and you keep trying to learn and you keep trying to have courage, then you reap the rewards and you get the prize. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way I talk to parents about that kind of question, Johnny, is like, it is hard. Nothing that is growthful in life is hard. And it can be a real challenge to your self-confidence. It can be a real challenge to your self-esteem, you know? Because we all, by nature, we all just don't know how to do a lot of things,
Mm.
you know? Everybody I know is really good at a few things and really, really bad at a few things and really just kind of okay at a lot of things, you know?
Yeah.
And anything that makes you grow, like being in a relationship or being a parent, is going to bring up all the things you don't know how to do. And so, as a general response to your question, and we could get into more, specifics, I would just say try to look at it that way, that it's not about what you don't know how to do because you've never been a parent before, probably, right? Or you've never had a kid that's really sensitive before. You've never dealt with an environment where there's a million things vying for your child's attention. Like I I'm in my mid 50s. Okay? I'm 55 years old. I grew up in Silicon Valley, San Jose, California. I was there when Apple was exploding and IBM was like one of the biggest employers in town, and Atari, a company that's no longer with us, I don't think. Like I was there when all that stuff was happening, but I didn't have any. I had to go over to my friend's dad's garage to use a computer because we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have social networks. We played, you know,
Mm.
we just played out by the creek. We went hiking in the hills. We played hide and seek, and that wasn't that long ago. But now there's a million things trying to get your kids' attention and to get in the way because people can't sell things to your kid if they're paying attention to you. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I'm not anti-technology, but I'm just saying that's the environment. It's hard. But if
Mm.
you see it as okay, but this kid needs me and I'm their best option, and even if I don't know everything, I can at least walk in the right direction of trying to learn who they need to be. And sometimes I even point to movies like, did you ever hear the movie Life is Beautiful with Roberto Benigni?
Yeah,
The World War II
it's an
movie?
Italian like
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And at first
I've
it
watched
seems like
it.
a
Yeah.
it feels like a broadly comic. Roberto Benigni's a very physical comic actor. And but then it turns into he and his son go to a concentration camp in
Mm.
World War II, and his wife goes into a separate concentration camp. And this father acts heroic in the most difficult, horrific circumstances and helps get his kid through it psychologically and emotionally okay, despite what's going on around them. And even though there's some tragic elements to obviously what was going on around them and to some of the things that happened in the movie, the kid was okay. He was psychologically and emotionally okay because his dad protected him, you know? And
Mm.
that's the kind of thing that I think parents we should look to is no matter what the situation is, your kid loves you. Your kid wants to be connected to you and your kid wants to follow you. And even if you think you've had a bad day or you're not a great parent today, you're the best they got, and they probably don't know any better. They just want you to keep trying, to
Mm.
get better. So I don't know if that answers your question, but there's so many different situations that people find themselves in. And just again, like being in a relationship that's a serious relationship, or being a parent, getting married, these are all going to bring up all the things you're not great at, or that you need to heal. But the
Mm.
opportunity is to learn to heal, and to be the answer for your kid.
Is there anything you found helpful in your maybe in your own journey with sort of like healing? Because it's talked about a little bit. Because I know we've just been talking about stuff coming up for people when they're forced into these new situations like parenthood or relationships. When we've got to look
Yeah, there's
inwards.
there's all sorts of things, and maybe we can have a little back and forth on this and make sure that I'm following you. But you know, um, I consider it a spectrum of different things that people can do to heal. Um, if you have an idea, like, hey, I want to, I listened to the podcast with Johnny and Todd, and he talked about the importance of attachment. That kind of resonates with me. Okay, go pick up a book like Hold On to Your Kids. Listen to some more podcasts with good people giving good information on YouTube or podcasts. Like I self promoting, but go listen to my YouTube channel. I have some good, videos on there. Listen to Dr. Becky Kennedy in America. Like look into um, journaling is one of the most simple and healing and potentially transformational things that people can do. Sit down and just free write about your experience, about how your kid triggered you today, and just get it all out. You might have to shred those pages if you got, if you got if a
Mm.
lot of bad stuff came out when you're writing, you might need to get rid of that because sometimes that happens. Therapy, if you feel like you have deep issues from childhood and you're having a hard time figuring them out yourself. I find community support, getting together with a group of dads or a men's group, or getting together with a group of moms, and just being able to share experiences and see that you're not alone. These are all wonderful ways, and some cost a little bit of money, and some cost a little bit of time, and some cost no time or money at all. But I found as a parent, one of the best things I did is I educated myself as much as I could. And understand, by the time I became a parent, I had a master's degree in counseling psychology. I'd worked with kids for 10 years in group homes and foster and adoptive programs and things like, so I wasn't starting from nothing. But when I became a dad, I also was like, I don't think I actually know how to be a parent at all. And so I started reading everything I could get my hands on. I've read more parenting books than anybody I know, you know, but also just noticing what comes up for you. It's a simple but powerful thing. You don't have to go figure out 100 things, hypothetical things, theoretical things. Look at what's actually coming up about how you're getting triggered or how you're getting angry or that you're having a hard time connecting or you don't quite understand how to do consequences with your kid to teach them cause and effect, or you're having some real issues come up in your own self-esteem about like your own worth that is coming up. Okay, look at that thing and concentrate on solving that thing and find people that are good about it. That's part of why I wanted to be on your podcast is I don't just want to be on parenting podcasts that are just about parenting. I'm interested in finding out other aspects of human psychology and behavior and experience. And I love that you're exploring it from so many different kind of angles on your podcast, you know? So there's got to be so many different ones that if you're struggling with a self-esteem issue or a thing that you can go look into it more deeply. You know what I mean? But sometimes I think parents think they have to figure out everything, and you don't have to figure out everything. Look what's being brought up, you know, um, in your own experience, and then study that more and learn about that more. And if you need, find somebody who's a good guide to help you with it.
I love that. Yeah, like just studying and looking more into your own stuff. The
I'm
journaling
hearing
one.
you all of a sudden.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that.
Awesome. No, that makes a lot of sense with what you were saying about, and particularly around the journal and seeing what comes up for you, getting community. Some really, really good points there that you've shared. For the parents supporting a kid, like, sometimes kids go to school and they may get some disappointments in maybe in class or maybe in their sport and stuff like that, or setbacks. How can parents support their kids with things like resilience?
Yeah. Um, resilience to me, we talk in psychology a lot about adaptive functioning, right? And that's what resilience is. And resilience, we could talk about a lot of different angles about resilience. And sometimes it's encouraging our children to try things that they're not comfortable with and supporting them in that. The specific pathway that I look at and that I'm interested in and that I see parents being able to do the most with is there's a normal human function of we all get frustrated. We all build up frustration. And in the frustration in the literature, they talk about frustration tolerance and things like this. Okay. Sometimes you can imagine having a cup and imagining that you only have so much frustration you can absorb before it's going to spill over. And spilling over in this case would be what we generally refer to as aggression. You know, when you have a 4-year-old and their cup of frustration is spilling over, they're gonna hit you. They're gonna my Dr. Neufeld used to joke that luckily preschoolers have bad aims and we don't arm them with weapons because they're naturally very aggressive because they don't know how to tolerate their frustration. You with me so far?
Yeah.
And that's just normal. We don't have to go around making up things to frustrate our kids. They are just going to be frustrated with all the things they don't know how to do, all the things that they can't be, the fact that they can't find words for things, or they're not big enough to do things, or their friend at school didn't want to play with them today, you know? And that frustration builds up. The way that I teach about the resilience process is something has to happen to that cup of frustration. Something has to happen for it to empty. And what that usually is, and it's talked about in psychology and philosophy in so many different ways, but what usually has to happen is I need to truly feel those feelings. I need to accept that I cannot change them, and I need to release them. I need to process them. And with human beings, a lot of the time, that means we have a good cry. You following me so far? And I don't mean tantruming and yelling and screaming upset because that's still you trying to like change the situation. I mean that situation where you just can't fight it anymore. You had a breakup, you lost a job, someone you love passed away, and you go through the normal stages of grief where you deny it, you get angry, you negotiate a little bit, you get a little depressed, then you get angry again, and then you negotiate a little bit, right? Like in a breakup, you know. You sure you want to not be together, and you're going all over these places. But what really changes is when you accept it. And maybe it's over. And you cry and you cry and you get it out, maybe. Some people cry more than others, but you just have that place where you accept it. And you know I can't change it anymore. It's done. That's adaptation. That's how resilience gets built. You with me so far?
So,
So that's what parents do is they realize that their kids are walking around frustrated sometimes and they're going to come to their parents and they're going to be pokey. They're going to be insisting on something that's just ridiculous. They're going to want a cookie for dinner. My kid once when he was like 4 was really frustrated and it was late at night and we just wanted him to go to bed and we were tired. And he said he wanted to go out back in the backyard and play with raccoons. And we were just like, what in the actual hell are you talking about? Like, no. And we set a limit and we said no. and we stuck with it, but we also tried to be compassionate. But we love you, but no. And that's how we help a kid feel their feelings. We set firm limits when they're frustrated, when they're losing their temper. We set firm limits that are also empathetic and loving. And by doing both, by saying, hey, Johnny, I care about you, but also no. I want it. No, I want it. Johnny, I know you want it, but no, you're not going to get a cookie. But I want it really bad. You should. I know you do. And it really hurts that I can't give it to you right now, but I'm not going to give it to you right now. No. And do you kind of get what I'm saying? A parent is kind of like a midwife, like helping their kids get their feelings out. And if you stay firm and you stay kind but firm, that is usually the formula that your kid eventually just stops fighting it and they accept it and they cry and they get it out. And then that same kid who was like all upset a minute ago, all of a sudden is more pleasant. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's adaptation. That's resilience. Is not that you think life sucks and it's just always going to be bad and you just need to accept it. It's that when hard things happen, you can feel them, you can digest them, you can process them, kind of like the digestive process, you know. You can get rid of what you don't need, you can take the lesson, but when you let go of the feelings of frustration and you release them, usually people have good ideas. Usually they then come up with something new. Like the legends we hear about people like who invented the light bulb? I can't think of it right now.
Thomas
Edison.
Edison, yeah.
Yeah, is that he blew up like 1,000 light bulbs trying to make a light bulb. That's resilience. He got mad sometimes, he cried sometimes, he sometimes went, "Oh, I just came up with a new way to blow things up. That's very cool." But he kept persisting. That's resilience. But we can only do that emotionally if we accept the things that we cannot change and we process them and we move through them. Does that kind of answer the question?
That's really, I really enjoyed that perspective on resilience and being able to kind of like process the emotions to be able to be more resilient. For me, what kind of came to mind then also is my relationships with people across life, like family, friends, or romantically, are better when I allow myself to be of my emotions and, work through my nervous system and process things. I don't know, would that be this a similar kind of thing for
I
parents?
think so. Yeah, I think it's in the same realm. Like some of the ways that you can look at psychology and human behavior, and as somebody who's done this for a while, and I work with super high functioning, successful people a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of
Mm,
like people who run big corporations you've heard of, right?
mm,
And they are so competent in the boardroom, and then they cannot manage things with their wife or with their husband sometimes, right? And I think so. There is a philosopher, and I always forget which one it was. It was one of the Greek guys, I think, said most of man's problems stem from the inability to sit alone in a room with his thoughts. Have you heard that one before?
yeah.
And I would say feelings, that so much of human behavior is I don't want to feel bad. I don't know how to handle my feelings. I don't like it when I feel rejected. I don't like it when I don't feel good enough. I don't like it when my wife talks to me that way. And the inability to tolerate that makes us do kind of yucky things, to use the technical term, bad things. We get offended and we yell and we do all sorts of things to avoid, and we drink and we do all sorts of things. Not that I mind a drink. We're talking. It's almost Friday night here as I'm talking to you, so might have a pint later myself. But a lot of times we're doing these things to avoid feelings, you
Mm.
know? So does that feel like what you're talking about a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so a
A
kid
lot.
doesn't want to feel that he can't have a cookie. He thinks the
Mm-mm.
cookie is going to solve his life problems right now,
Mm.
right? He doesn't want to accept that, so he's going to fight it. But learning to tolerate your feelings and feel your feelings and run through your feelings is emotional intelligence. It's like a big part of that. And
Mm.
it's a big part of being happy in life, because if you can work through those feelings, most feelings naturally rise and fall. They would naturally rise and fall by themselves. Does that make sense? Like good feelings naturally peak and then they naturally pass, you know? Bad feelings naturally peak and they naturally pass. It's not letting them move through that keeps us stuck.
Absolutely. I love that, Todd. Todd, I know you're obviously doing a lot of great work with people, and you're helping people really with their relationships, particularly with their children, in the work you're doing. And obviously, you got your upcoming book, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's
So yeah,
coming up very close now.
yeah. So it's the calm and connected parent. That's the one.
The calm and connected
The
parent. Yes,
parent.
I'm officially a bookseller now. Yes. I was listening to interviews and podcasts and people like I say in my book, like I say in my book, I'm like, oh, I'll stop selling your book. But now I'm that guy. So yeah, I bring it up sometimes. It's something that over 20 years, like people kept saying, when are you going to write a book? I'm like, I don't know what I want to write down yet. I don't know what it is. And then finally, like a year ago, I went, oh, I think I know what it is. And
Amazing.
a lot of it is the context of parenting is already hard. It's a challenge. It brings up all these things. It's already a hero's journey. And raising kids to be their full, confident, capable selves is always been hard. But that right now, I think social media and smartphones and AI are just presenting a lot of very fast moving challenges that are just changing the landscape really quickly. And the whole book is not about technology, but I kind of wanted it to be, in context of what's going on right now. So there's stuff in there about the technology and how it affects attachment, how it affects things like resilience in children, that it's not bad in and of itself. And I'm just looping back to this because we were just talking about resilience. But if a kid avoids feeling feelings by being on a phone or being on a social network or being on a video game where they can just keep hitting reset whenever they're faced with frustration, that can get in the way, right? It's not necessarily bad in and of itself, but it can be a way that kids are avoiding feelings or kids are avoiding the kind of the relationships they need to grow.
Wow, that's much needed book in the world,
I
particularly
I
with
hope so. I hope so.
all these distractions, really connecting with our emotions and therefore connecting with our kids as well. So yeah, Todd, where can the listener grab a copy of your book for when it's out, and also where can the listener find you to reach out to get more of your content, more of your work?
Easiest thing is transformativeparenting.com. It's a long one, like we talked about at the beginning. Transformativeparenting.com. Look up my name, Todd Sarner, and you'll find us. But I've never been a big social media guy. I've always lacked on that. I do have somebody working with me now that is encouraging me and trying to get me to post. And we have a Facebook group that's been around for a while, and we have a YouTube channel that, like I mentioned before, we're not monetized on that. I just think that it's some of the top questions I've got from parents, I tried to record a video about. So there's a few dozen videos on there answering a lot of the most common questions. And the book is linked on the website or Amazon, and I think there's going to be some other places that have it, but Amazon's the easiest. So it'll be there, book and audiobook, and there's a workbook. So yeah, I'm excited for it to be out there in the world. I'm getting a lot of nice reviews. At the time we're talking, it's about 11 days away. So yeah, I'm excited, and there's way too much stuff to do. You
Wow.
should see my to-do list right now. It's so funny, we talked about this before we recorded, just the nature of work these days. Like I'm sitting here in California talking to a guy in Bristol, England, and I have people on my team right now that are in Nigeria, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, like people that I'm working with that are helping put the book out. So it's a lot, but it's exciting. So having fun with it, or at least trying to. I'll have fun the day after it comes out because then I'll relax.
Big celebration. That's
I
awesome.
think so. One of those pints we were talking about.
One of
Yeah.
those pints. Love it, Todd. So yeah, Todd will be for the listener. Will all those links are going to be in the show notes below to grab a copy of Todd's amazing book that's coming out to the world, and also Todd's website as well, where you can get in touch with Todd. So Todd, massive thank you for coming on today and
Thanks for having
everything
me.
you're
I
doing.
enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I love the voice you're putting out in the world. It's much needed, and I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Todd. So that concludes today's episode. And remember to leave with your heart and not with fear.